Thanks for joining us for another exciting episode of Film Reels, where we're going to be interviewing local filmmaker Luke Kokinos of Fall, a series. So get ready, folks, because things are going to get mysterious.
Very good, Dad. I'll talk to you later. Sorry about that, officers. How can I help you?
Listen, you can drop the act. We know it pays the rent around here.
Many people know about my international affairs.
Well, Stephen, I think they sell dope over in Europe, too.
All right, officers. Is there something you want to ask me?
Yes. We want your business.
Excuse me?
We're looking to trade our assistance for cash.
That's our proposition.
And even if I were selling drugs, why would I trust you?
Here's the great part. You don't have to. You have two options. You can make a deal with us and never sweat a drop in running a deal. Or you could never sell drugs to anyone again because we'll be riding your ass nonstop.
Next time you pull a deal, you'll get busted. By us. When you're sentenced to 8 to 10 years, you'll wish you'd shaken my hand.
So that was a scene from Fall, a series, a web series that's written and directed by our guest, Luke Kokinos, who's joining us here in the studio today. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. In the meantime, we're going to get to know Luke. Luke, where were you born?
I was born here in Madison.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you been having fun running around kicking people in the face?
For the most part.
Awesome.
There are lots of people to kick in the face. What can I say?
And so what was life like growing up? Was it?
It was certainly interesting. I'm trying to think. I was homeschooled, so there was a while where I was stereotypical and didn't actually know anybody.
Yeah.
But,
recluse.
But yeah, and then I slowly got involved in theater, and then, as we know, now I know all of these crazy people.
Yeah, like me. So I like telling people my story about how I first met you, and I don't know if it embarrasses you when I tell this story, but so we're going to cover this. You've written a book, a couple books. You're an actor in both stage and film. You're a board member as of recently on Broom Street Theater. You're a writer-director of your own web series, and you also are a contributor to the school newspaper over at Madison College. And I remember after covering all this, I said, "So what do you do for a living?" And you were like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "So do you go to school or do you work somewhere?" And then you said,
Yeah. This was the night that we met at Underground. Yeah. I told you that I was but a mere lad.
Yeah.
I was 13 at the time.
Yeah. So you're like, "I'm 13," and I'm just like, "What?" And I think Matt leaned over and he's like, "Doesn't it just blow your mind?" And I was just like, "Yeah." It's like I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, you do all this like master list of accomplishments. So let's talk about some of those accomplishments. You were involved with NaNoWriMo.
Yeah, 2 years in a row. Well, 2.5. I started last year, but didn't really pan out. But yeah, for the 2 years prior, I was successful. I wrote 50,000 words in a month.
Nice.
And it was certainly an experience. When you're writing that much in such a short period of time, you can just sort of see it get better and better throughout the project.
Yeah. What was your stories about?
Oh, doesn't really matter. A few were, I wrote like a character sort of evaluation of just one guy, sort of in a conversation with his subconscious for my second year. And then the first year I wrote this horror novel. And as we all know about horror, it doesn't really matter what it's about.
No, it doesn't. It's all good. It's all good. So what got you involved with acting?
With acting, it's always sort of just been one of those things that I've liked doing. My first real show was doing Tales from the Dork Side in 2009 at Broom Street.
Nice.
So that was an experience. I thought I was a lot better than I was before I was self-conscious.
Yeah.
But and then it took me a few years to sort of get back to it, and then I sort of got some formal training with Deanna Reed through her homeschooled program, which was Actors Factory, which is like the 6-month program. At the end, we do a show in the Stoughton Opera House. So
nice.
That was sort of, the heart of it all. That was when I sort of figured out what I was doing. And then after that, I went back to Broom Street. And since then, I've played a Viking, a bird, and Superman.
That's quite a list of accomplishments there.
I know.
And I've seen that was Iceland. That was where you were a Viking, and I love that play. That was actually I think the first play I saw when I was at Broom Street. So
Yeah.
quite an impression you put on me at that point. What drew you to initially act at Broom Street? What brought you there?
Well, a friend of mine at the time, Doug Reed was involved in writing a play over there called Minglewood Blues. So I went to go see it because it was intriguing. It was written by a guy I knew. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll go and see this play. So and then just immediately it just really caught my eye. Like it was like this little black box theater, and thought like, I should look out and see if there's anything that I could do here. And then the play immediately following that was cast. And ever since then, I've been causing trouble.
Yeah. So what got you to become one of the board members at Broom Street Theater?
Well, around last year, we had this panic when a few board members resigned, and just everybody was freaking out because we weren't sure if we were going to get enough people in. So I got a few emails from board members. My brother sits on the board as well, and he sat on the board a year before I did. So it took a lot of, convincing, but I eventually just decided I'll try this.
Why not?
Got elected, and then my phone started vibrating with emails constantly.
You're like, what have I brought upon myself?
Yeah, it's not all that bad. I was told it would be a lot worse than it actually ended up being.
Yeah.
So
it's manageable at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear. You're a contributor for the school newspaper at Madison College, the Clarion. What things have you written for them?
Nothing this semester, actually. I've been busy.
Yeah.
But last semester I did a review of Iron Sky when it was playing over at AMC when we had that special screening of it. So I did that. I wrote a few reviews of concerts at Broom Street and coffee houses, and just little things like that. Like I never did any sort of news stories. Mostly just evaluations of stuff that was going on in Madison.
That's a good start, though.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Let's see. Some of the influences that you said growing up was Scorsese and Tarantino. Describe some of the movies that you like the most that they've done.
Well, Goodfellas was the first Scorsese film I saw, and I think that's part of the reason why I like it so much. But yeah, just a lot of things that I saw that I really liked with the editing, the cinematography, just the overall writing of the film, just keeping that fast pacing going. It was the first film that I saw that wasn't really about a specific event. It was like a character study, and it was really interesting because I of course liked mob films at that point, and I liked stuff like that. So
yeah,
it was sort of a new take on it that I really enjoyed.
That's awesome. So you also have hung out here at WYOU. What was that like?
Well, I was 8 at the time. So, of course, it wasn't exactly prime time for me, but I wouldn't say I necessarily learned a lot because I was sort of incapable of doing so, but I definitely got very motivated by doing it. I got a lot of enthusiasm for the studio environment, and yeah, so that's why when it sort of went quiet over a few years back, when I was actually thinking oh, I could actually do something helpful and useful around there.
Yeah.
Now it's heating back up, so I'm really excited about this. Yeah.
I like it. And you, a little fun fact, own a Red camera?
Yes, as of recently. Yeah.
How's that?
I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, it really does help with shooting any sort of projects, planning bigger projects. It's just immediately the $6,000 that you would have to spend renting one for a project immediately out of the way, not something I have to worry about. It makes it a lot easier to at least fund smaller projects that still need a budget.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So go into more detail about the plays that you've been in at Broom Street. So what was Tales from the Dark Side? That
was a sequel. Yes, it was a sequel to Brian Wilde's Dork Side of the Moon. And it was basically, oh wow, now I'm actually kind of spacing out on what it was about. It was basically the story of this family reunion, and there are ghosts, and you know, there's the supernatural, and it was a good play to start out with. It definitely made an impression.
And then there was Iceland.
Years later, yeah.
Yeah, years later. What was that? 2012.
Yeah, that was just
So a good 3-year gap.
3-year gap before I actually found a play that would actually have a role for me. But yeah, I mean, just that was, you know, it was interesting because it was like the first time that I actually had been handed like a lead character, and it was definitely a learning experience. And yeah, and I remembered how great it is working with the people at Broom Street, and you know that they're not quite as, you know, they're not quite the filthy hippies that they're made out to be.
And then what was it? What was the one that was after that, where you were a parrot?
That was Seeking Flight.
Yeah.
And that I sort of did as a favor. And again, I don't regret doing it. It was a rough process, but nonetheless, it was actually, again, it was, you know, handing me a lead character. I was on stage for like 90 minutes straight, so it was definitely a challenge to work with, and that's why I sort of like doing it so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, and then now you're doing, or you're wrapping up Superhero Boogie. So what's that?
That is a entirely lip-synced play, which is basically 8 stories from the 1970s, which were recorded to, which were booking records. So, you know, you'd put your 45 on the turntable and you'd read along as the comic book would come to life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we just lip-synced all of the recordings, and yeah, it was actually really fantastic. I got to work with Rob Matsushita, which was fantastic, and so many fantastic actors were in that. So
I love it. It was a trip. I enjoyed watching that, and we're looking forward to seeing it again soon. You guys all missed out on it though, so keep it up. Keep in mind, he's going to probably do it again. I think he said.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
So you're going to be working on an upcoming feature film. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I just recently finished doing a 6-month writing process on it. It was difficult to write. It was a lot of stopping and starting, but it's finally done, and I'm in like the rest of pre-production at this point. But basically, it's three different perspectives of the same night, and you've got a detective and his wife looking for a guy who killed his partner, completely off the radar, since, you know, it's not technically, you know, legal. Mm-hmm. But you've got the hotel manager and then the serial killer that they're looking for, and it sounds very noir-esque when I explain it. But yeah, it's just I wanted to write something that was pretty slow-paced, mm-hmm. but you know, sort of a return to form. You know, I originally started writing, you know, stuff that was a little more, you know, thriller-esque, and now I'm sort of going back to it when I sort of know what I'm doing a little bit more with paper. And so yeah, so we're currently scheduled to shoot in January of 2014, and I'm currently casting.
Nice.
I was hoping to have some announcement to make on that front, but I haven't had anybody confirm with me yet.
Okay.
But.
Is there upcoming casting calls, or are you pretty much
It's pretty off the radar since there are only 5 speaking parts in the film.
Gotcha.
Again, like I wrote it to the specifications that I knew I could shoot it at.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty low key. I want to talk to all of the actors. I want to work with them plenty ahead of time, and you know, I'm scheduling it far in advance since it's like my first time out doing like a feature. You know, I'd much rather be twiddling my thumbs for a month, you know, waiting for production to roll around than rushing to get stuff done.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Wise advice there. Okay. So what would you say is your favorite film of all time?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, drop that one.
I don't know. The Godfather is good. I have a soft spot for Goodfellas, of course, but it's really hard to narrow it down like that.
Yeah.
But, there are lots of good ones.
There are lots of good ones. I like it.
Yes.
Would you say there's any kind of like actors that you have influenced you and that you like to follow what they do?
Not really specifically, since again, like acting is sort of one of those things that I do because it's fun, it's social. I like working in the theater, but I don't think I could manage all of the stress of, you know, actually directing a show or stage managing a show. So acting really isn't one of those things where, you know, like I'm just like, wow, I want to be that guy, because I recognize that would take a lot of time and a lot of patience, which, you know, again, I'm good enough to go and get cast in a few community theater shows, and that's really all I'm looking for on the acting front.
Well, that's awesome. What do you see in the long term, in the long run of things? Where do you see the Kokinos going after the feature and everything like that?
After the feature, I don't know. Probably more features, just because I would like to. I like having, plenty of time to plan and prepare and not have to shoot run and gun like I do for a web series or something like that and short films. So again, like just practicing, getting better, and seeing where it takes me, I guess.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks for joining us here today, Luke.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we can find Fall series somewhere online?
Yes, you can find it on YouTube, and we will have new episodes coming soon. Soon. I promise.
Awesome. Well, here that was. And there it goes. So punch in the face. And we're out. My mom watches the show, so you better watch it.
All right, 5.